Hi, Edgimos here, and I'm doing something new here. I'm gonna be doing sort of a Smite tier list because I like Smite and I think I'm pretty good. And now that I'm level 100, I think I can say that I know the game pretty well. So I thought I should share my knowledge to the world on YouTube and maybe help some new players who are new to the game or who just want to learn more about the game. So what's a better way to do a tier list than with the new update? The mid-season patch is what it's called. So now that the meta has changed, let's try to get ahead of the noobs and get to Grandmasters, all while getting this bread. I'll be doing these in alphabetical order to keep it simple. So to get it started, we'll start with Achilles. We're going to put him in A+. He's a great solo laner. He is able to sustain in lane with heals. He's got stuns, heals, and an execute, which very few gods have, although it does take skill to use and it's quite hard to hit. His support is okay, and his jungle is pretty good. He's a god with crowd control and an execute ability, which is a pretty solid pick, but Erlang Shang definitely got him beat on jungle. Agni, A. Undervalued mage with his ultimate on a super low cooldown, which basically makes it another ability. I would not recommend top picking it because Agni can be out pressured, but he does good into such gods like Hera. So good poke, good clear, good mobility, very safe god, nothing too crazy. AMC, also known as a Muzen Cobb. This hunter I have a lot of nightmares about because he can be flex picked into dual lane, mid lane, very well. He has super hard poke with the early game on his bees ability. His late game honey, the hives give him a mobility and attack speed buffs when they're also wards, so they're kind of a little bit of everything. He has high clear, high poke, but he's not very safe. He did get a nerf on his bees, going from a 9 base damage to a 5, which was definitely much needed because his pressure was very mad insane. If you aren't careful, or if you don't have heals, you would get deleted. His swarm ability was also reduced from a 6C to 280 scaling to a 60 to 260 scaling. It may not seem like much, but it will definitely help in the long run for staying alive. Runeforge is also a pretty good item on him when you use your ultimate, so keep that in mind when building. Alpwatch, B+. This god is situational. He's good against a healer composition, but really there's a lot of mages that can do better, especially when you have gods like Merlin, Hera, Poseidon, Zeus, Zhonghui, Haboa. Those gods can do some high damage stupid easy, but Alpwatch, he's really just there for the ultimate. It's a large AoE, but it's really You kind of have to build the team comp around him. Next we'll go into Anhur. We're going to put him in A. He has a pretty good passive with plus 15 penetration. He has good poke, CC immune ult, nothing bad, nothing crazy, average hunter. He also got a small buff to his shifting sands, also known as the pillar. It went from a 420% scaling damage buff scaling to a 8 to 20% damage scaling buff. So your early game is going to be a lot better. Next is Amaterasu. First of all, I'm going to say that she's very beautiful. But this is a Smite tier list, not Persona 4. So we're going to say that she has a good ult. She's very good in team fights late game. But her lane phase isn't the best, especially in the early game, and neither is her clear. And her passive doesn't suit her very well. So it makes clearing camps and clearing lane a lot harder. But if you make it to the late game and survive the early game, your ultimate is going to be really useful for setting up team fights for your allies. She does have really good skins though. Next is Anubis, B+. I'm kind of tempted to put him in A, but for now he's going to stay in B+. He has crazy clear, and I've been seeing him be played in solo lane and in jungle. Because he's very tanky and his lifesteal is mad insane. He has an amazing high damage ultimate, but he lacks mobility, so be careful if you're gonna pick him. Anti-heal counters him pretty easily though, so like a Brawler's, a Pestilence, Divine Ruin. And he goes from a Pitbull to Pitbull. Next, Ao Kuang. He's a very unique god, and if used by a skilled player, he can be insanely scary, kind of like a Ymir jungle scary. And as a melee mage with an execute, being basically a magical assassin, you can carry games and go ham and cheddar on some noobs, but you can also be shut down pretty well with Pestilence pretty easily. He has had some nerfs recently, and the new item doesn't benefit much. He's great in ranked, but in casuals he's kind of meh. Next we're going to go into Aphrodite. We're going to put her in B+. She's a good mage with an okay support and a pretty good solo lane, but it's not really recommended. She can be easily countered by anti-heal builds. She's good at keeping one person alive, and it's also possible to keep your whole team alive, but it's hard. She's a good counter to Bellona. You can cancel her 3 by using your Kiss ability, which is your 1. So you can avoid big damage, and with your ultimate being Aegis and a Beads, it's really useful for surviving those Poseidon ultimates or like Kukulkan ultimates, you know, those big high burst instant damage ults. So keep in mind when picking her. Also, Lotus Crown is a very good item on her. I wouldn't try to rush it though, unless you're in solo lane. But in mid lane, think about it when going into your build. Spear of the Magus, very good item on her when you're in either support or solo. Apollo. This bad boy's gonna go into S. He's gotten a buff to his passive. Each damaging ability now adds 2 stacks of audacity for each enemy god hit, which is pretty mad insane. He's going to be like a minigun, just not auto-attacking fools like nothing. He's pretty good in solo for some reason, and Rama too. I don't know why, but they are. He's a solid attack speed ADC damage god, and with the buffs, this brings him to S tier. Also, if he's played in mid lane, he can easily rotate and gank over into dual lane by using his ultimate. Also, Neith could do that, and she doesn't even have to like go over. She just ults dual lane, boom. Doesn't even have to go and rotate. But we'll get to her later. Next we'll go into Arachne, A. She's amazing at low levels. You can just use your 3, your 2, your 1, and you just auto attack. And then you just dumpster everyone in the game. But the way you really counter her is really to just be faster than her, or like an Aegis. Her only escape is her ultimate, so just pick her by surprise and you'll be okay. Like maybe like a Hades ultimate. You know, that's pretty good to force out her ultimate. Blink and Sprint are good relics on her. Midgardian Mail is a good item to counter her slightly. DM Brandon, the Smite YouTuber, he hates her a lot. And she's usually top banned in the games I play, and probably yours too. Because she's like a hyper carry assassin, kind of like Baca Sora or Collie, you know, those endgame hyper carry gods. So she's very feared upon people. Next we'll go to Ares. This bad boy got a big buff. Sorry, Kratos. With a 5% max health, damage per tick to his 3 on non-boss minions, he went from an A tier and jumped way up to S tier. And now Jungle Ares is actually pretty viable and pretty scary. His clear is now dumb crazy because he's a guardian, and guardians shouldn't have mad clear. And with his passive, you can do high bruiser damage on the level of like a Kuzenbo, and just cripple people. And like you get a blink and you ult combo it, and that's a perfect setup for your team. His ultimate is pretty amazing for setups, and it's easy to use if you pair it with a Kukulkan ultimate. And if you do it just right, you're looking at some pentakills in your future. So think about that when building team comps. If you got team building lifesteal, like say a Ymir jungle, Ares support, and like, I don't know, some mid laner that's like Hades, definitely go for that Pythagorean's piece. It would help them out and help you out. Sovereignty is also a pretty good item on him, as well as Voidstone. Those are pretty much almost must-have items on him, because you get the protections, and because they're an aura item, it gives you plus magical damage. Cooldown boots is a good item to go as opposed to the reinforced greaves, because since you're a bruiser guardian, you're kind of going for that damage, and you're kind of keeping your distance, so you're not super up close and personal. You're kind of like mid to close, so you don't have to worry about getting attacked too much. And then you can also use your 2 to gain some protections. So Artemis, A tier. Just like her twin brother Apollo, she's pretty solid, but that's about it. Her traps are good for setting up a kill. Her crit is very nice, and she can dash out some DPS very nicely. Her ultimate is a great setup and escape, but she's pretty easy to kill. If you got support like a Kumbhakarna, or like if your team has lots of CC, then she's going to do extra damage to enemies because of this passive. Next is Ardeo, A+. She's a pretty good guardian, very good solo laner, but you're definitely not winning lanes. But your team fights are very solid, and she's very annoying in solo lane because you just spam abilities. So as the other regular warrior would probably have 4 abilities, well, 3 abilities and an ultimate, you have just like 6 abilities, which is crazy, considering she's a stance swapping god. She's very good in solo and in support. Next we'll go into Athena, A+. She's probably one of the best guardians in the game, because she has a global ultimate. She's pretty annoying to play against, almost as much as a Kumbhakarna. She's a solid god for forcing Magi's Cloak and beads from her taunt, so she's a pretty solid pick. And also Athena jungle, that's a scary thing to think about. Alright, a Wheelix, A. Hard to use ult. You need to build the team comp around her. Good guardians to go with her is like a Gab with the knockups, or a Jormungandr. Also another good pairing for jungle and support is Arachne Gab, getting those shields. But overall, she does pretty high damage. So, I don't know. Think about it. Alright, that's the letter A. How many gods was that? Like 10? It's gonna be such a long video, man. Bear with me. Bacchus. We're going to put him in A. He's a very top pick guardian. Breastplate of Valor and Sovereignty are good items on him when facing a physical hunter on the dual lane. If they're magical, then it'll be hard when you have to like use Genji's Guard and Heartwood Amulet instead. But with his passive, just keep your drink meter up, and that's lots of extra bonus damage. So because you don't have to, you can have your drink right away. It's like easy 30 damage at the start. So you can like start with the leap or burp, and just like knock him up, burp, auto attack, and then your Unter, as long as he's not a potato, you can easily get some easy wins at the beginning. Baca Sora, A+. His late game is very scary. He just ults you and just whittles you down with his crazy fast basics. He has self-heals by eating minions, and he's just like a oof. He's usually top banned sometimes because he's like really annoying. He's got leaps, he's got just auto attack buffs, so he just like hyper carries at the games, kind of like a Thanatos, Collie, kind of those groups. So watch out for him. Baron Samedi, we're gonna put him at B+. He's an okay mage. His ultimate is countered by beads, and is a similar category where like he's kind of like a Ra, where he can heal using like Soul Gem and heal the team. But there's really better choices out there. He's like okay, but it's not really something you want to prioritize when there's like plenty of other mages. Bastet, we're gonna put her in B. Not much CC. Her ultimate is just slightly better than Arachne Spider's. You know, I'm gonna put her at C. Like, she's kind of bad, to be honest. Like, just don't pick her. Bellona, A+. With her disarm, it's a good for those hunters with this hunter comp meta, and her ultimate is a nice escape and a good engagement for your assassins and the hunters, giving them an attack speed buff, and the spot great for whittling down objectives, towers, fire giants, gold furies. It's kind of like a frenzy, and if you pair it up with a frenzy, then things are just going to get deleted. She's a solid solo lane god. Cabrakan, he's an annoying god with his trembles on his 3. He has a weak passive, but it's there. Kind of like 5% damage mitigation, I think, if I'm not wrong. Sometimes if you get like speed boots, you're just like really fast. You do lose some damage, but okay. If you get the speed boots, I think it's like traveler shoes. And as long as you have your 2-up, you can be like really fast and just like stun enemies. And as long as you have like your ADC behind you, you'll just like whittle them down, and they'll like be really surprised. I've seen that happen, and it's really scary. He doesn't get picked too much often, but when people do, it's spicy. Camazotz, we're gonna put him in B+. He's a good pick for when you're up against like King Arthur. Kind of like has how the pro player Ducky from Trifecta has shown us that he's pretty much the King Arthur counter. He's his high sustained assassin because of the passive. When a god dies, you can get like mana and health for 10 drinks. His CC immune ult is pretty spicy, because you can just ult and just like be immune to damage for 4 seconds. So it's a pretty good escape. Enemies don't know where you are. You can, use it to like get out of places, but if you hit multiple gods with it, it does extra damage. So it's good for team fights. Cernunnos, we're gonna put him in A. He's a solid hunter with his stance swap, so you can get lifesteal, you can do a debuff, you can do bonus damage, and I think you can slow. It costs no mana on that ability to stance swap. His auto attacks are pretty good. Maybe get like Odysseus bow. Not first item though. He does have a lot of pressure in lane, and he's kind of like scary. His ultimate is okay, and it's people can easily get out of it. But his bramble, it's good for like stunning enemies, trapping them, which is like rooting them. So you can like easily whittle enemies down. Cerberus, I'm gonna put him in A. He's good against healing gods like Chiron, Cupid, Aphrodite, Hell, stealing that healing, because whenever an enemy heals and you're near them, you steal 20% of that heal. And his ult is a good setup for his team, and it's like pretty much a beads burner. He's also kind of viable in solo lane, along with like Sobek. It's kind of weird. Guardians in solo lane kind of works too. It's just weird. Chalk, A. Chalk has good high pressure in solo lane. His ult is nice to silence the enemy. He has self healing, is good, which is good because it saves on mana with his passive. Get 5 auto attacks and you get like a free ability. His ult now shoots people straight up instead of away, which is kind of the patch that happened to him, which is pretty good. It's better for team setups, like a Kukulkan ult or like Zeus ult or something like that for that big AoE damage. And when they're chalk ulted, they're silenced for like a couple seconds. Chonga, B+. She's annoying in solo lane with her heals, but she can be shut out with anti-heal, and she's an okay support. Not really something you should be too worried about, but she's pretty annoying if you're not too careful. Chernabog, A. He has a global ult granting him vision on the enemy team while in the air, kind of like a Nuwa. He can split push and travel to the team fights that's across the map in like 2.34 seconds. He has good poke, and he has a decent passive. So like every time you get like 3 auto attacks, it does like another like basic damage or something, like a burst. I don't know. It's kind of weird. He's pretty cool skins though. It's like that scary devil boy or something. Chiron, A. He has small heals, which is pretty good. Every time like you use an ability, you get like a small heal. His dash is pretty good, and he has high poke because you just like, he's like a combo ability god. You just like use your 1, you auto attack, or every time you ability them or auto attack them, you get the chance to use your 2, which like is like a tracking basic. And also, here's a pro tip: if you're in assault, pick a Bloodforge on him first item, and you're just like never dying, because you just do so much poke damage, and like you'll have like 3k, you'll get like 3 kills or 4 or maybe 9. It's crazy. But then again, assault is random, so look out for it though. Chronos, hey. He's annoying as heck when he gets to late game, if played by a good player in the ADC role. Like, he can just zoom across like a wombat, and he just slows and stun enemies and roots them, and his auto attacks, and just auto attacks them to death. And he has a mana restore on one of his abilities. And if he gets into a pickle, he just ults and he's out of there like a 1-2 step. He did get a little bit of a nerf, but I don't think it's too much to stop him. Chichelin, A. Oops. He's a situational god. He's very unique because he doesn't use mana, but uses rage, and he has a high HP 5 passive. And when he goes into berserker mode, he can do high damage with that aura, which is kind of like a Midgardian mail, mystical mail. He has bad late game though. Like, he can easily get shut down by hunters. So, Cupid. Hey. He has a good ult in that it's a big AoE circle that slows and stuns enemies. He has a safe dash and can heal teammates and restore mana. So, it's very cute, very small, can do high speed attack damage, but not that good. Dodgy, B+. The bleeding on her passive is pretty annoying, although she is a situational pick for when the enemy team has no CC immune ults or beads, and she can just beads burn, or is a good setup for her team, but it's very hard to hit, especially on console, so be wary on her. Discordia. Average clear, good ult for her team fights, and her abilities are good for team fights, too, for causing discord on the team. So like they're like pretty weird AoE, but like if you use it on like if there's two enemies in them, you use it and then like they get hit by each other, it causes like discord, hence in her name. Her ultimate is pretty hard to hit, but it can do damage. Just don't really use her. She's, I don't know. Erlang Shen S. So like even with the nerfs, he's still a solid flex pick god. His spot weakness was decreased from a base damage from 25 to 85 scaling to 15 to 75 scaling. You will still shred objectives and enemies because his passive is still like mad strong. His jungle is still spicy strong. Like he can just charge after you with his transformation to the weasel, and he can pin you and then just auto attack you while you're rooted, and the nerfs to him were definitely not enough. He will be used less in the jungle, but he just not going to be eradicated. Fafnir, A+. Oops. With the attack speed buff and his hammer stun, it's pretty insane. He has a cool ult. He can leap. Use the ult to get those objectives. His auto attack speed buff was decreased, and his damage buff for allies. But his hammer throw was increased by width, so it's easier to hit. So it's going to be less viable in the Smite Pro League, but more seen in casuals. Fenrir. Average god. His ult is good for picking an enemy and either bringing them to a tower or bring them to a hunter and just watch them get deleted by like a god like Medusa, who just like attack speed easy, or Apollo just whittle them down. He's an average solo lane, average support, average assassin. He's got that flex pick options, which is nice, but you know, he's just average. Nothing too crazy. Ooh, Freya. Doo-doo. How have the mighty have fallen? You know, it's true when they say that the bigger you are, the harder they fall. Oh yeah, she's D. Anyways, Freya went from a top SPL pick to fucking bottom of the barrel with like Odin and Loki, which we'll get to later. You know, it's pretty funny how those are the Norse gods. With her nerf on the Aurora blade, now only doing 1 damage at level 1, her early game is buoy garbage. Her late game is okay, but her early game just makes her crippled hard to survive. It did get a small range scaling by like 5 or 10%, but what's the point of being able to throw marshmallows at a greater distance? It's like, oh wow, you're doing mad damage. What, do you go to good damage school? Come on. Just don't pick her. She's not good anymore. Ganesha. Hey. He's an annoying guardian. Silence is strong. High damage ultimate if you can pin your targets in it. He's okay. Geb. We're going to put him to A+. This god is going to be really useful in this patch because of his passive being a counter to the new hunter item Failnaught. His shields are super insane and has one of the best ultimates in the game, doing max health percentage damage rather than a specific amount. He's just one of the best support gods. He's got a knock-ups, which are good for an Awilix combo, and is good when paired with an Arachne to keep her alive with those shields as she's speeding down chasing enemies. He's just a great god, and with his passive doing instead of crits only do 25% of the damage as opposed to 100%. He's going to be really useful in this crit meta. Guan Yu, A+. Jungle Guan has potential, and his heal is nice, and his damage shred is pretty spicy. He's good for getting rid of those enemy protections on his 3, I think, or his spinny scythe thing. But he is a very hard to use alt, but he can do high damage if you can use him right. Hajiman, A+. God, this thing, why is it all messy? It's just names all over the place. Alright. I cleared it. Hajiman. Safe Hunter, CC immune alt, does high damage, can be used for that secure kill or escape. That's it. A+. Hades, B+. He's annoying to play against when he's in solo lane. He's just tanky through lifesteal. He's a good beads burner alt. Useful for a team setup, but you can get Pestilence and he gets little healing, and then you can just kill him before he can get any lifesteal. I've seen him in solo lane, and you can shut him out as long as you don't get killed in the early game. So he's not too much of a threat. Hebo. He has a high damage mage, decent in the jungle, and with a new item, you can just alt knock up user 1 into a knock up into a 1, because the cooldown on his 1 is so short. It's a 3-second, and with the cooldown, you can get it down 2 or 1. And if you hit all of those abilities at full build, you'll be deleting noobs left and right, doing 3 to 5,000 damage. So getting pentakills with him just got way easier. Hell, she can dish out some damage while also keeping her team alive, but really not the best god. Hera, A. Alright, so she's annoying to play against, and really you'll only need this one build on her. Start it with Mage's Blessing, build into a Chronos Pendant, get Penetration Boots, and then into a Bancroft's Talon, get Spear of Desolation, and if it's a lifesteal or a healing god you're against, get Divine Ruin instead. Then you go into a Soul Gem, and then Spear the Magus, and then into a Rod or something. If you build Book of Thoth first on her, please uninstall the game and go play Fortnite, because you don't know how to play. It's all about a double penetration, double lifesteal, double cooldown. That's it. You can sell your boots for Rada Tahuti at the end to get that extra damage. She's really easy to use because she gets a shield, and she's also faster with the shield, so you can easily get in and out of fights. She's very frustrating to play against because Argus just makes it a 6 versus 5 in team fights. Alright, Hercules. We're going to put him in A. Average solo lane god, has some good heals and stuns with his dash. Alt is hard to use, but can delete people at a distance. It's good for getting that secure kill if you can Kobe that shot. Horus. We're going to put him in A. He's really more of a support than a warrior, but that alt is good for chasing people down or surprising enemies on objectives. He's still fairly new, so the meta might shift with him. So you just gotta wait and see with this god. Alright, where am I? Alright, Hui. We're gonna put him in A+. He's very strong. He has a very strong ultimate, hard to hit. His arrow bounce is pretty good if you're good with him. If you can hit your shots well. You can just go ham and cheddar on some kids if you're good with your shots and get those lucky bounces. So A+. He has a high skill floor, but he's not too hard to use. Next is Hun Batz. We're going to put him in A. He has a good ultimate for team fights and can pop in and do that damage and then pop out with his leap. So he's a pretty fairly good assassin. So he's average, A. Isis, A+. This god got reworked and went from like a nothing average god to like an undervalued mage. Actually, we're gonna put her in S. Oh yeah, so she can stun, she can root, and give bonus stats with her ultimate, and like she's a super good now. With 25% reduced damage mitigation at all ranks, her 3 gives you a shield and other allies around you, and also some number scaling changes, but that's like, these are really the main bread and butter of her. Isis was always good at burning down objectives, and with this rework, she can do that even better now. She can drop her ult and auto attack, and it's just, it's crazy. Like, her wind gust is on a really low cooldown, so like she does like 1,000 damage, like easy peasy. So like, I say like a lot. But yeah, she's pretty good. Izanami, we're gonna put her in A. She's an annoying god to play against, but still one of the weakest hunters. Mainly people have been using like attack speeds on her. I don't know. She's the kind of, she's really annoying to play against. Is my point. If you're not careful and let her get ahead, then you're gonna get whittled down, and like next thing you know, she's gonna be like 9-0. Janus, we're gonna put him in A. He has a good clear, global ult, good for getting to objectives or sniping people across the map. He's an average mage, but really you're not hitting those one shots across the map. Jingwei, also known as Waifu. Sorry Barracuda, sorry Wowie, but she's mine. She's one of the safest hunters and one of the best hunters with her passive. She can do poke damage. She has crit in her build on her 3, so she can dip. She can also dip in and out of lane pretty fast. Easy peasy, crazy fast. And with a new item fail knot on a hunter that already has crit, we're looking at some spicy fiestas here. Gander, the world serpent. A+. Easy flex pick god. Insane solo lane. Insane ult. Great god when paired with like an Awilix. This god is like pretty spicy. Like even though he's a guardian, he's used in solo lane a lot, rather more than a support. But like he's pretty good at like defending against like an Arthur or something. He also can't be knocked up. He just gets stunned. So he does take more damage when he's stunned, but he's not going to be knocked up. So a Wheelix ults I don't think really work on him. And I don't think he can also be nausea altered either. Collie. A. Her late game is insane. Unkillable and ultimate, and can heal when she kills her target. So, and it's easy to get pentakills with this god when in the end game. She's like a white girl eating some spicy Indian curry with a Sprite, also known as spicy water. So you better call the fire department because this girl is on fire. Kefri. Hey. His ult is really good, able to save an ally when they're about to die, which is pretty insane. He has a small shield passive for his allies. Not as much as a Geb shield though. His grab is nice when you can just hold the enemy for your team to just whittle them down. And that's a god you want on your team. King Arthur. Hey. So even with all the nerfs, he's still bopping fools left and right. He just heals and just like he can hold his own against like a 1v5 team fight. Like, what the fuck? He can be countered now with the new item Contingent, which is also known as Physical Pestilence. So you can just shut him down now pretty easily. But you know, he's still King Arthur. Kukulkan, B+. Good clear, good passive. Get Book of Thoth and really like just build books, and you'll be doing like insane damage. His ult is pretty hard to hit, but you can one-shot people if they're spongy enough. He's pretty weak in team fights. He's easy to target, but you know, pair him with an Ares, get that ult combo off. You can get pentas pretty easily. Kumbhakarna, A+. He's very annoying to play against. His stuns are crazy. Really good frontliner. Can knock people out of team fights, which is nice, making from 5v5s down to 4v5s. Being able to put the team fight into your favor. Kuzenbo, A+. With the double hunter meta that we are in now, he is a good pick because you can just reflect that damage back to those squishy targets. And with your ult, they can't do anything without beads. You can dash enemies out of your team, out of team fights, stun them, and secure kills with your Nene. Your little Nene minion that you can just toss out and just like bounce off walls and just like easily whittle them down as they try to run away. So he's a pretty good solid pick. Pair him up with like Thorns. Use your 2, maybe like hide in the median line and like 1 auto attack, and they're like down to 75 health. It's like a little crazy. Loki, garbage, doo-doo, don't pick him. Split pushes all game. It's never in team fights. If someone on your team picks this god, that's a GG right there, because like this god's a troll. I once saw this god go 0-30, and he was probably trolling, but like still, like that's just your Loki players right there. Medusa, A+. High lane pressure, good ultimate for team fights. Her dash is a good stun, and a good against healing gods like Cupid or Chiron. This god's pretty spicy. Mercury, I'm gonna put him in A. Team fight is meh. Is okay. He's fast, hard to hit. Ult. He's okay. Now with the blades, the katana is being nerfed a little. He's not that viable on that kind of build anymore. So, and then ever since Golden Blade got nerfed on him, it's just he's been going down. He's on the decline. Merlin, hey. With a 35-second ult, that is hella long, especially since he's a stance switching god. So once he uses his abilities, he's pretty vulnerable. He still does that high DPS damage though, because like he's Merlin, but you won't have to worry about him being top pick, top ban anymore, because now we have to worry about Thor and Apollo. Even with cooldown reductions for his ult, it's gonna go down to like a minimum maybe 24 seconds at best, but like still, dude, that's a long time. So he's pretty garble. Don't pick him much. Neath. A+. Global ult is insane. Lifesteal is nice. Good in dual lane and in mid lane. She's a pretty good god. Nemesis. We're going to put her in A+. Let me just take a second and point out that she has like one of the best skins right now that Hi-Rez has ever released. Like, look at how beautiful this skin is. This skin is up there with the Jingwei Pool Party. Her shield got buffed, and she's an amazing tank shredder with her ultimate. She has high mobility, she's a good jungler, and is definitely going to have a higher presence in this mid-season patch. Naga. I'm going to put him in A. This god got nerfed, so he does less penetration damage. He used to be S tier, then down to A+, and is now A. So he's fallen quite a bit in the last couple of patches, so you will be seeing him less often right now. Alright, Nike. S+. Holy shit, this god got fucking buffed. Like, she is the best god in Smite right now. For those who don't know, this god got reworked super hard. And her 2 used to be a buff for her other abilities. So Hi-Rez was like, fuck that, let's just give the buffs to all the abilities and replace the 2 with a fucking shield that is ripped out straight out of fucking Brigitte's hand out of Overwatch. And with the double hunter meta, she just pops the shield and just... And with the double hunter meta, she just pops the shield and enemies do like literally 0 damage. And they get pushed back. So have fun pushing enemies into tower at level 4. Oh man. Alright, Nox. We're almost there. Hey. She has a good silence, has a root that does damage. She has a long distance ultimate that does damage over time. And she can hide in tanks. And with the new mage item, Staff of Myrdidden, not sure how you pronounce that. You can ult, use your 1 and 2, hide again, use your 1, use your 2, and have taken 0 damage. And it's going to be super insane. She's a safe mid, but not much else. Nuwa, we're going to put her in A. So, she's okay. With the new items, you can have like do double stuns. She's pretty good, especially with her ultimate. So if you build high power damage at the end, when enemies are low health and you have like Rada Tahuti, you can easily get like those secure kills for enemies that are returning to base, running away, that are like just out of reach. But she's also decent at auto attacking, but I would not put her in ADC. She just does those auto attacks decently well. She can root. She's pretty good. Hey. Odin. C. He's kind of doo-doo. Very situational. Only useful against healing teams. And even then, a Phantom Veil will just be bad news bears for him. His passive is still pretty garbo. And this god pretty much needs a rework because he's been trashed for like 5 seasons. Osiris. I'm going to put him in A. He's okay. Can be easily countered by Bellona when she uses her 1. He's okay. A. He's got a decent passive with like reduced damage mitigation and reduced physical and magical. So, he's alright. Pele. A. High mobility, good lifesteal, decent jungle. Nothing really bad about her. Poseidon. I'm going to put him in A. Has crazy clear, high mobility, crazy ult. Good for rotating to duel and getting a 2-piece McNugget meal with barbecue sauce because, like, you just use that Kraken and boom, that's a double kill right there. If you build right though. His ult is also amazing in the late game for high damage ults and snagging multi-kills. The Gem of Isolation nerf is a feels bad on him, but he's still pretty viable without it. You can start out with Mage's Blessing and then go into a Divine Ruin. If it's a healing god, or then you can just go into a Bancroft's Talon. And then you can go into some Pen Boots, cooldown boots, depending on what you need. Then go into some rings, and then you'll be gravy salad. Ra, A. Can dish out damage and heals, kind of like Baron Samedi, but better. Hard to hit ult, but can be spicy if done right. A. Raijin, A. Super high damage. His 2 does damage over time. Can blink in and out of team fights. He hits like a truck and can outpressure Poseidon. Rama, we're going to put him in A+. He got a buff and a nerf. He does lots of damage and slows on his autos. So now hitting consecutive shots is more encouraged, while missing will affect your maximum damage output potential. His ult is good for getting a secure kill or getting out of team fights for a few seconds. It is very hard to hit though, but you can get those damage hits. Ratatasker, A+. Amazing early game, falls off a late game. He does Protection Shred and on his spin. Semi-global ult is nice. He has lots of CC. I've seen people use go to the Acorn Rush to get like a nice like kill into like either like mid or dual lane because of their spongy. But really the best way is to go into like just regular Assassin's Blessing, get Hydras, just basic assassin builds. But if you want to troll or you want to be extra spicy, just Acorn Rush, get those kills, poop on enemies, poop on dual lane, and then you'll hyper carry. It's important to get the late game before the assassin get the late game, because you can't sell your Acorn. And Acorn is like boots for him, and while every god has sold their boots in the late game, you're just stuck with what you have. So you'll always have Acorn. So you'll never have the max 6 item builds. Instead of you'll be stuck with a 5 item build. Rabona, A. He got a small cooldown buff on his 3. He's a decent dive god. He doesn't have the best clear. He can root on his 3, so pair him up with like an Artemis, and that's like some bonus damage right there. Scylla, gonna put her at A. Has roots, good ultimate for those secure kills, and maybe some pentas. High damage mage because of her passive, granting her 25%, 25 plus magical damage for every max abilities. So that's a maximum potential of 100 bonus magic damage. So it's pretty good at late game. Surkhet, I'm gonna put her at A. Hard counter to Vamana, good against healing comps, not much. Set, A. Hard to play god, has a high skill floor. He's similar to Baca Sora, where you can dive on people and get easy kills, but it's got to be at the right time, and you can engage or disengage with your sand minion, so you can teleport in and out of fights depending on what you need. Alright, halfway there, I think. I don't know. Scotty, fucking S+. Scotty got a fucking major buff. RIP T-Money. Her ult now is a projectile, which can root, and when Calder dies, you can get plus damage, plus 10 damage. So that's very nice, very strong god. I'd really be on the lookout for her, because a lot of people have been using Scotty forever. So, and they're the people that know how to use Scotty know how to use Scotty. So you'll be deleted from from mid distance as opposed to close distance. Sobek, A+. Good against healing gods. He can be flexed into solo. He can pluck people and throw them behind him, so that's pretty nice. He's good for setups. His ultimate's a good high burst damage. Can restore mana. He's pretty good. Soul. Way better than Oleron. Even with the nerfs. She has like really nice skins though. So she's gonna be the best ADC mage ever because of her passive. So always pick Soul over Oleron. Sun Wukong, A. He's very safe in solo lane, but his team fights are pretty meh. He's okay. Susanoo, A. He's a pretty decent god, nothing too crazy. You can juke the man, but you can easily get pulled back. Sylvanas, Ganja Tree. Good support, especially when he can get those sick grabs, and is a good when paired up with the Medusa. His ultimate is also a pretty good setup. Terra, A+. Very good support, very good solo lane. Has really good ultimate for team fights. In SPL, the Smite Pro League, she gets top banned and top picked quite often. So like, I don't know how it's going to be next season, but this past season was pretty good. Pretty much if you had Terra, you're pretty much going to win. Because like she has heals, she has stuns. Like she's really good. Support Guardian. Thanatos, A. One of the highest sustained gods in the game. When played right, you can just get godlights like crazy. He has an execute, and with his global ult, you just hover in the air and just look for your prey that's low. Once he's killing, he's pretty much unstoppable. And especially when he starts snowballing, next thing you know, like you're 5 minutes in the game, Thanatos is on the other team. Next thing you know, dual lanes feeding their brains out. Thanatos just feeding on like a fucking, I don't know, the ADC, and it's just gonna be bad news bears. Morgan, A+. Her ultimate is still very valuable, able to turn into any god in the match. So she can turn invisible, is able to flex pick into jungle. Her mid is pretty scary when played well. So if you have like a Hera on the enemy team, the Morgan can just turn into the Hera. Then it'll be a 6v6 with double Arguses on the floor. So it's going to be pretty scary if she's on the team. Thor, S+. The God of Thunder got a rework. His 3 now spins in half the time, and his hammer toss does damage always on the return. That helps for those secure kills for enemies that are running away. And his ultimate, once you land, you do bonus arc lightning damage for 5 or 6 seconds, I think, on all abilities and autos. So he's gonna get pretty top picked quite often. So be on the lookout for him. Thoth, B+. Has good range, is safe. That's about it. Really wouldn't recommend using Thoth. Tyr, A. He can bully in solo lane, but you can play around him if you're smart. You can stand switch and dive into enemy team fights, so you can easily like, auto attack cancel. You can easily like dash into them and like knock them up. So his cooldowns are kind of low, so you can easily like just spam abilities and do decent setup and just heal off waves, minion waves, and off teams. Oh man, almost there. Ullr, S. One of the best hunters out there. He's a stance switcher. High poke, CDR. Uller is pretty insane with his stun, his leap. His poke. This dude is insane. Transcendence Rush on this dude works way too well. Almost there. Vamana, A. Okay God, countered by healing and Surkhet mainly. Vulcan, A. Annoying God, his turn to solo lane is Cancer. Easy to avoid ultimate with a dash or an Aegis or an Aphrodite ult. He does damage, but he has low mobility. Expalanque, B+. B+. I really don't know why people still pick this god. His ultimate does like 0 damage. It just blinds enemies for 5 seconds. It does 0 damage. It no longer stuns them. He can have pressure in lane, but there's better auto attack as hunters than him. Just don't pick this god, really. Jingting, 4 more. A+. Attack speed debuffs has high sustain. And with the HB 5 after using his 1, has knockups. Really good ultimate for setting up teams. It's a good beads burner. So he's going to be pretty prevalent in this meta. Ymir. A. Small nerf to his detonate. Ymir. Not safe, but his frost breath is always very valuable. Able to stun enemies for like 3 or 5 seconds, I think. Which is very spicy. Walls are very good for blocking enemies and routes, so able to get enemy escapes or lock enemies down and trap them, especially when they don't have leaps. Last letter. Zeus. A. Small nerf to his detonate, making it easier to Aegis. Low mobility but high burst damage. Good ultimate for team fights and setups. Zhonghui. A+. Beefy god, tanky through lifesteal, gains bonus protections when bag is full. Oh, fuck. We did it. 103 gods. Subscribe for more Smite. I'm out of breath. I'm gonna go sleep for 19 hours now. That's your Smite tier list. I shouldn't have done this.